Alright, we found something really special for you guys. It's HP's OmniBook 5 Flip. It's a 14-inch 2-in-1 convertible laptop that can be bought for $400 and it doesn't suck. And that's a really big thing at this price point. If you want a laptop for basic home, office or school, this is by far the best we've seen at that price. We are a Best Buy affiliated channel, by the way, and they do give us some vouchers to buy laptops. That's for these reviews. So the moment I saw this one on sale, I just snapped it up. Best Buy, they haven't reviewed this video, nor got involved in any way. Obviously, we wouldn't work with them if they did. I just wanted to be transparent here. Ours has a Core 5 processor and 8GB of memory. There is a high-spec config with a Core 7 processor and 16GB of memory. It costs a little more. Then there's even a 16-inch variant and a 14-inch variant with a Qualcomm processor and an OLED display. Now, these aren't always on sale. In fact, sometimes their pricing, it's all over the shop. The way laptop pricing works is that their sales price is really their real price. So we wouldn't recommend buying them much higher than that. Also, as per usual, all the laptops I talk about today will be listed in the description below if you want to buy one. Alright, onto the laptop itself. It looks very plain. It's a standard looking laptop. Now, one thing I really do like about it is that its edges are all curved. There's nothing sharp to cut into your wrist or anything like that. The main thing you are going to notice though when you do pick it up is that it is heavy. At least it's offset by how small and light its charger is. But the benefit of it being so heavy is that it is really well built. There's no lid flex, there's minimal keyboard deck flex. In fact, I'd say it feels sturdier than HP's more expensive OmniBook X and 7 laptops. When you open the lid, you'll be greeted by a decent IPS display, at least at this price point. 340 nits of brightness, which is enough to use indoors in, say, a slightly dimmer environment. In my brightly lit office, though, I found myself just occasionally pushing that brightness up button, trying to get more out of it. If you are outdoors, it's a no-go, it's a glossy display, and it just doesn't get bright enough. The panel, it does have a resolution of 1920 by 1200, which is good enough, and it does refresh at 60 Hz. It can drop down to 40, by the way, to conserve battery. The color gamut of this panel, it isn't great, but it is kind of acceptable at this price point. I didn't detect any PWM flickering when lowering the brightness, nor did I detect any backlight bleed. That's also good. Overall, the display, it is a positive of this laptop. There are two versions of the OmniBook 5, as I said. There's a traditional clamshell design and the Flip. That's the one that we have. Our one, it can convert to a tablet. Both of them support touch, and we were able to try the pen on ours. It worked well. Drawing was smooth with a little resistance, kind of like writing on paper. The pen does grip firmly to the right side by magnets. That's, of course, if you're walking around with it. I'll put a link down below to the correct HP pen if you do want to buy one, as ours didn't come with one in the box. Before we move on from the display, the non-2-in-1 model, it has an OLED panel. This tends to mean content looks more vibrant and it has better color accuracy. Onto the keyboard. It is very comfortable, no complaints at all. You got a soft press with a satisfying click at the end, and it isn't overly loud to type on. So you aren't going to disturb anyone if you're using it in a meeting room at work or in a class at school. The arrow keys, they're also nice and large, which is good, and there are no special keys in odd locations, so I didn't get tripped up by any mispresses. If you are using the laptop at night, again good news, there is a keyboard backlight. The trackpad, it works well enough. I spent 2 days using the laptop and it was perfectly fine. In fact, I didn't notice any palm rejection issues like I do on HP's more expensive laptops. If I was to complain about anything, it would be that there is too much force required for the click to register. It is mechanical and the click is a little bit loud. If you're using this laptop in a quiet space and you don't want to disturb others, you may want to turn on tap to click. Looking around the laptop, it has a good port selection, at least for one at this price point. On the left side, one USB-A port that has 10 gigabit speeds. You got HDMI 2.1 and 2 USB-C ports which also have 10 gigabit speeds. On the right side, you get one USB-A with 5 gigabit speeds and a headphone mic combo jack. Clearly, HP has cut costs by not including any fast Thunderbolt ports here. One important note though, this laptop, it is charged by one of its 2 USB-C ports. It gets very warm on the left side while charging, and that warmth, it does creep into the left side of the keyboard deck. This is probably the most annoying thing about this laptop. We have noticed it on a couple of others like Microsoft Surface, but this is kind of the worst we've seen. Performance. It is definitely not a strong suit of this laptop. Our specific one has the Core 5 120U processor. Core without Ultra in the name means it is an old processor from Intel's Raptor 8th generation, which was sold in 2023. And U at the end of the product name means that it is Intel's lowest performance tier. This is clearly another way that HP has cut costs, and FYI, our unit it only has 8 GB of memory, which isn't upgradable. This is really the bare minimum performance that you'd want even for a laptop for basic tasks. I'm talking about office applications, responding to emails, web browsing, and studying. Guys, even for these simple tasks, this laptop, it isn't snappy. I certainly noticed that it felt a tiny bit laggy compared to my more expensive laptops. Obviously, if you want to do anything more intensive than what I just listed, guys, this is not the laptop for you. Before you go out and buy the high-spec config with a Core 7 processor and 16 GB of memory, beware. I don't expect that to solve this issue. That Core 7 processor is still a low-powered U-series processor from several years ago. In fact, you may want to try installing Linux. Linux tends to run better on lower spec hardware. So we did. We installed Fedora 42. Everything worked: Wi-Fi, camera, brightness up and down, trackpad, and speakers. Now, we haven't talked about the integrated GPU's performance. It's also very basic and only suitable for much older games at medium settings. Something like League of Legends is playable, but not much more. Battery life is so-so. Given that this laptop has a somewhat large battery, I was hoping for more. I'm not overly surprised, as those older Raptor Lake CPUs were never that power efficient. Newer Lunar Lake ones from Intel's Core Ultra Series 2, which have a V at the end of the product names, how confusing. Anyway, they are much better. You can see HP's more expensive OmniBook X Flip 14. That one has that chip and outlasts this laptop, even though it has a smaller battery. The OmniBook 5 non-flip, the one that I mentioned earlier, the one with the OLED display, that comes with a Qualcomm processor. I have heard that that one lasts longer on battery, but we don't have it in. Normally we'd caution you about buying a Snapdragon laptop, as those run the ARM version of Windows, some specialist applications and many games they don't run. The Intel CPU though, in this laptop, it's so slow that you can't use those applications anyway. So in this case, choosing a Qualcomm, it's probably something you should consider. Plus, as you may have seen in our graphs, that version performs a little better. Now, we haven't talked about heat and fan noise yet. Unfortunately, I did hear the fans going even over our air conditioning. It wasn't high-pitched or anything loud or overly disturbing like that, but this is not a dead silent laptop. Now, that was when running this laptop on its performance mode, but given its middling performance, you're probably going to want to do that. In terms of the heat you feel, it was just that warmth around the USB-C port that I mentioned earlier. The speakers, they're surprisingly good for this price point. They get loud enough and there is actually some bass, which is rare in any laptop. The quality though, it is a little muddy. Take a listen. By the way, on the speakers, they are underneath the laptop, so if you do use it on a blanket, they aren't going to sound as good. In terms of upgradability, the SSD, Wi-Fi and battery, they're all replaceable. The memory unfortunately isn't. Alright, here's the verdict. This is the best budget new laptop that we've seen. We feel it's better built than Lenovo's cheap IdeaPad 1 and 3, and we definitely like it more than Dell's budget range. If you can snag the Qualcomm model or the high-spec version of this one, we think that $500 is a fair price. Our version with only 8 GB of memory, $400, that's about it. That being said, if you do see a high-tier laptop on a big sale coming close to the price of this one, get that, the performance is going to be so much better. Our pick of laptops a tier above this one is the Yoga 7 with AMD or the 7i with Intel. I'd also recommend keeping an eye open for an open box deal at Best Buy. These are returned laptops, often with minimal issues that still have manufacturer's warranty. That should just allow your dollars to go further. Finally, if you are open to a Mac and you don't need the 2-in-1 and the touchscreen features that these have, guys, I really feel a MacBook Air 13 with M2 or even the older M1 one, in my mind, it's a better buy. Best Buy, they do sometimes still sell these. Well, that's all we got for you today. If you like what we do, give us a like and subscribe. It will make our mothers very proud. I promise you, she watches it and she will be proud. Till next time, go do something awesome with your day and we will catch you later.